guys, let's take a selfie.
Oh, wait.
Woo!
Get it.
It's a video!
We, the young, are not a complicated bunch. You see, we take each day as a clean slate, a chance to experience more. Why turn down the volume when you can turn up the vibe? It's never about the destination, it's about the journey. And this is so true when it comes to South Africa. This land wants you to live in the here and now.
The coolest.
And not in some hashtag, because a place this timeless doesn't follow trends. It sets them. And her people have a way of making you feel at home. So come touch, taste, and live South Africa. There's so much more to see. Come journey with us.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sanebo Ngwana alongside Domaktabiso Ngambule. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babane. Let's take a look at our top stories. The Minister of ICT says the National Research Council bill will once passed into act contribute to the country's development and further help the country develop a national agenda on the items that need researching. The Minister of Finance, Noel Rickenback, has officiated the launch of the Eswatini Revenue Service New Brand, and the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has provided 80 million malangeni to cushion the price of fuel, as it is set to increase yet again with effect from Thursday midnight. And now the news in detail. The Minister of Information, Communication and Technology, Princess Kanyiso, says the National Research Council bill will once passed into act contribute to the country's development and further help the country develop a national agenda on items that need researching. The minister was speaking when Senate House resumed its parliamentary business on Wednesday.
When the House of Senate resumed its parliamentary business on Wednesday, the Minister for Information, Communications and Technology, Princess Kanyiso, motivated that the House refer the National Research Council bill to the Ministry of ICT's Portfolio Committee. Delivering her preamble before the House, the Minister said this bill, once passed into an act, will help the Kingdom of Eswatini develop a national agenda on the items that needs researching. The Minister says this bill is important for the Kingdom of Eswatini as a country that has learned to produce, consume and deliver on its own content.
We need a research council that understands that a nation that does not conduct its own research will never contribute anything to the world. We can never sell our culture. We can never sell our indigenous knowledge systems, how we produce food and how we produce medicine, for instance. This goes to say that Eswatini will become that step closer to becoming a first world country through the establishment of a National Research Council that will allow us to test the success of this bill in 4 particular areas. Firstly, in the number of patents, trademarks or concepts that are created. Secondly, in the number of patents that are concepts that are registered, created. And secondly, in the number of products that are actually developed into a product or idea. And thirdly, in how much investment we put into this new concept. And lastly, in how many businesses and jobs are actually created from that in order for us to establish what value chains have been created.
Members of the Senate House applauded the Minister for the bill and further forwarded their concerns.
And I'm just wondering how we were doing before this bill was brought up, because conducting business of whatever nature in this day and age has to be research based.
Gune research station lapha eMalkens. The infrastructure get linked to agriculture. The National Research Council itawuthelela kanjani nale research station le. Is it a different body? Noma utoba nendlela yokuthi kube bunye.
The minister was awarded a chance to answer on the members of Senate's concerns.
Le National Research Council ayidi kutovala licwaningo lelwendiwa ngletinye tinhlangano lide kutoba niketa umkhombandlela ukuthi live libheke naku lesifuna kukwati naku lesifuna kukuthola naku lesifuna kukwakha eveni ngaleso zathu le nhlangano le yetekulima la bekhuluma ngayo Senator Mkhululi itawubuya nayo phansi kwalomgomo lesinika wona silive.
The Senate House then moved that the National Research Council bill be moved to the Ministry of ICT's Portfolio Committee. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgaswe Koza with Muslim Konta, Parliament.
The Minister of Finance, Neil Rickenback, has officiated the launch of the Eswatini Revenue Service SARS New Brand. Now, the minister says now that the organization is moving from a punitive organization, he hopes that the organization will be willing to help taxpayers to comply with their obligations.
On Wednesday, the Minister of Finance, Neil Rickenback, officiated the launch of the Eswatini Revenue Service SARS New Brand. The service was previously known as the Eswatini Revenue Authority SRA. Speaking during the launch, the Minister of Finance, Neil Rickenback, said the service is now moving from being a punitive organization to a one that is corrective and willing to help taxpayers to comply with their obligations.
As a country, we have now reached the point where we are now moving from almost only having one tool as the revenue authority, from being very tough, to actually saying, right, we are now becoming a revenue service. So we launched the name change today and the new logo. It is now Eswatini Revenue Services, moving from an authority to a service, implying and really making sure that we do actually start servicing the taxpayers, start servicing the clientele, change the DNA, try and change the image. We will be reassessing all taxpayers that are behind on paying tax, reassessing the penalties, reassessing the interest, possibly even writing those off and giving a time for taxpayers to come in. We have to pay what we call a principal debt that is required in law, but at the same time see what we can do to accommodate taxpayers. The revenue service will now have to become, we still obviously have to be very tough on tax evasion. Anyone that does not want to pay tax or that's not planning on paying tax, we have to still continue to be tough on those because we do need to maintain tax collection in the country.
The chairperson of the board at ERS, David Lameni, emphasized that the new organization will work on building a healthy relationship with local taxpayers.
Le ndlela yekubutha umthelo le ndlela le bekwenteka ngayo kumbe ne-reputation lesingathi i-reputation labenayo SRA sole acala mhlambe kulabaningi kayihlamusi kahle ngiko ke kubonakele lokuthi kakwendiwe le lushintsho lolwendekile lungendeki kuphela ngeligama luphindze lwendeke nangetendo.
The Minister of Finance also highlighted that they have noted a continued increase of tax debt, and as of February 2021-2022, they stood at 9.172 billion emalangeni. The minister also announced that the ERS is working on a program to assist taxpayers who find themselves in deep tax debt. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgaswe Koza with Fumenko Sinsinisa Sulini.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy has announced a fuel price increase with effect from Thursday midnight. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, Dorcas Lameni, says to reduce the impact on the consumer, the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has provided funds amounting to 80 million emalangeni to cushion the fuel price increase.
Following the price increase of crude oil, which reached an average of $118.82 US per barrel in March this year, from an average of $92.82 US per barrel in the month of February, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy on Wednesday announced a fuel price increase. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources, Dorcas Lameni, says the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini provided funds amounting to 80 million emalangeni to cushion the fuel price increases to reduce the impact to the consumer.
Petrol, diesel and paraffin will increase as from Thursday the 7th of April midnight, effective from the 8th of April. The reason is due to the increase of the crude oil price, which has increased from 92.82 cents dollars to 118.82 per barrel. Petrol was supposed to increase by 220 cents. Diesel and paraffin would increase from 3 rand 50 cents. However, the ministry, together with government, Ministry of Finance, Cabinet, we sat down and we felt that we needed to cushion so as to reduce the impact to the consumer and protecting the country's economy. So, government has given the ministry an amount of 80 million to cushion the fuel. After receiving this amount, the ministry will be able to increase petrol. Instead of 220, we will increase it by 50 cents. Diesel and paraffin will be increased by 1 rand.
On another note, the Principal Secretary also mentioned that funds in the country's oil reserve fund have depleted, whereas the new fuel price increases will come into effect Thursday midnight. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Suekoza with Fuminko Sinsinesa with Kian MCB, Babane.
Unicef, in partnership with the European Union Humanitarian Aid, have donated 3 generators to the Ministry of Health's Public Health Unit. Now, the generators are all worth 420,000 malangeni, and they will assist for automatic pickups during power cuts. Eswatini TV's Kian MCB has more on that story.
UNICEF, in partnership with the European Union Humanitarian Aid, have donated generators to the Ministry of Health, which will assist during power cuts. The 3 generators cost about 420,000 malangeni, 120,000 malangeni each. Afshin Parsi from UNICEF says the generators are part of a bigger supply support for a cold chain facilities in the Ministry of Health.
As you might know, the 3 backup generators are part of a bigger supply support for the cold chain facilities in the Ministry of Health, which is part of a multi-country action under the EU's humanitarian initiative in support of COVID-19 vaccination rollout in Africa.
Alexander Castellano from ECO gave a special recognition to all health workers in the country for the dedication and bravery shown during the COVID-19 pandemic.
It was decided that this program, this multi-country program, should include Eswatini. But allow me to say that in reality, very little is done on our side compare what you on the at field level, Ministry of Health, nurses, medical doctors are doing. Without you, this would be absolutely impossible.
Fortunate Bembe spoke on behalf of the Ministry of Health, saying they come at a time when Eswatini is still battling COVID-19 and the vaccination rollout is still very low. Therefore, they will assist in keeping the vaccines in storage and required temperature.
These generators came at an opportune time when the ministry is working with the COVID-19 vaccination. We realized that as the Kingdom of Eswatini, we started the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination in March of 2021, a year after the pandemic started in Eswatini. So these generators will also ensure that we do not have wastages due to power cuts. And of course, as nature would have it, it had to put our generator into display this morning as we had a drop in power so that you can see that it is indeed working.
This is a program in 12 countries. The generators take a millisecond to pick up automatically after a power cut. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB in Babane.
Tibeta Kangwane have financially supported the construction of a waiting area in offices at Gazondago Clinic worth 800,000 malangeni. Now, before the construction of the waiting area, patients would wait outside being exposed to all types of weather conditions.
Biotagangwane through the Usutu Royal Trust have financially supported the construction of a waiting area and offices at the Zondwago Clinic under Mhlambanyasu constituency. Previously, patients would wait and queue outside, being exposed to all temperatures, being rainy days and the scorching sun. Mhlambanyasu Member of Parliament Petros Mavimbela says they applaud the assistance now that patients will comfortably sit under the shelter while waiting for their call to see nurses and the doctor.
Uma lishisa lilanga tishiswa lilanga so sabe seke sekuhlalwa phansi sekuyabuka ukuthi engabe lesive singasitekala kangakanani ngani ngobe sinyenti lesitekala kulomtholampilo wethu kulapho ke bese ke sibayasukuma ke siya labadzala bethu sehamba sekuyiwa uSuthu Royal Trust. uSuthu Royal Trust kwasekuba nguko losibambisako ekusakheleni lama waiting room ethu njengoba wabona nje amahle kube kungasiyi waiting room area yodwa kube kunalamagumbi lamanye ekusebentela kwanze ukuthi abantu labafuna ukuchecka bomake labatohlola tisu labatawenda tindzaba tabo HIV and AIDS nalokunye manyendi lamagumbi lasa angetekile lapha ekhaya.
He says many offices have been added, thus the extension of the clinic. Also, Royal Trust chairperson Patrick Lukwele says the patients can now comfortably sit under the shelter, which he gives thanks to the contractor.
Sabona sabe esiveni salapha kuthi labantu kuba nenkinga njengamalinako noma kushisa kanti bayagula akuba kabi base kuyaqeleka ke sebaqela lelibandla lethu asifanele sibabambise Nkosi yami sabe sike sesiyahlangana siyacela na committee lenkulu basivumela ke sesabambisana na hlangothi letinenge baka health nabo micro projects but bantu vele labayikhokhile le mali ngilale bandla lethu lokuthiwa uSuthu Royal Trust.
The construction is worth 800,000 Malangeni so far and is currently ongoing. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Kazondwago.
Mojang Primary School has equipped its learners with agricultural skills. Now, the learners can now raise livestock and sell those that are ready for market. Some can even now do fencing. The agriculture teacher, Tandagutle Mahluza, says they align themselves with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
There is a Swati idiom which says, Lukochwa Lusemandi, meaning the teachings you give to any child during his childhood days, he never changes from. Mojang Primary School has aligned itself with the Sustainable Development Goals in ensuring quality education to the learners. The school has taken it upon itself to ensure that all learners as early as the first grade or even grade 0 are equipped with agriculture and farming skills. The school has all kinds of chickens and birds, ducks, peacocks, and all kinds of animals that are kept by the schools and taken care of by the learners who feed the livestock now and then. They also plant fruit trees, a garden with different herbs to ensure that they sustain themselves during their lives in the school. The agriculture teacher Tandoguhle Mahluza says they sharpen the learners with skills to breed, raise, and even sell the livestock for market when ready.
Letinkuku sitifuyela ukuthi sitithengise sakhe imali bese siba naletinye ke tinhlobonhlobo letingakavami tinhlobo tetinkuku tona ke sitifuyela for therapy ekakhulu letilwane nje cishe tonke sendela nje for mental health kulabantwana mbana lesi sinabo ukhanza ukuthi kunetinkinga lababa nato nje emakhaya singetati la ngeke futhi akuchazele ititshe latshelena ukuthi kanjani but ngekubuka letilwane ukhanza ukuthi soyakhona lokhu refresher cause bathanza letilwane ngekuhlukahlukana khanza ukuthi lo munye uthanze lapho lokwaja lo munye uthanza letinyoni lo munye uthanza ama-peacocks lo munye uthanza ini kuyabasita nje sitifike kakhulu for therapeutical reasons ukuthi nje labantwana beve ba at home nabalana nalokubona tilwane letingakajwayeleki ke labangadadi nasenzaweni kumele abathanze nalokufuna ke esikolweni because kuna these different things labafike batibone baba nema experiences lehlukahlukene and so kuyaba encourage vele lokho ukuthi bafune kuya esikolweni.
Amongst the animals kept by the school is a monkey which Mr. Mahluza says is so special and dear to the learners. He says they've allowed the learners to take some time and watch as well as bond with the animals. He says some go through a lot which they wouldn't talk about, thus they refresh by looking at and taking care of the animals now and again. Upon completing at Mojang Primary, there are a lot of skills that they acquire and able to make a living out of. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Mojang.
With that, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, the news continues. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
Watch local TV on the go with the Eswatini TV app for only 20 emalangeni per month. Do the most with Eswatini TV app. Download from Google Play Store or App Store. We're good together.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Corp is the home of savings. Get this KIC 204-litre chest freezer for $3,599. Save $400. Or this Skyworth 55-inch Android Ultra HD TV for $8,999. Save a massive $1,500. Or get this HP Core i5 8GB laptop with 1TB hard drive for $11,999. Save $1,000. Price is valid until 10 April. T's and C's apply. Hi-Fi Corp, your #1 deal destination.
Welcome back. You're still with the news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. I'm Sanebo Ngoa, and we shall now take a look at our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. MTN League defending champions Royal Leopards has edged closer to the lock leaders Mbabane Highlanders after defeating Vovo FC by 6-2 in a midweek fixture that played at Prince of Wales in Mbabane. Now Leopard are 42 points with a game in hand behind Mbabane Highlanders, who are 43 points.
In a midweek fixture held at Prince of Wales in Mbabane, Royal Leopard played their game in hand against Vovo, looking to edge closer to log leaders Mbabane Highlanders. There was no delay from the defending champions when Muzi Mzoro Dlamini opened the score within the first 15 minutes of the game. Dlamini returned just before the hour mark as he doubled the lead before teammate Bongani Dlamini netted the third. Dlamini was having a game of his day, netted his third. There was a shift of focus in the game before the end of the first half when Vovo got their first goal before getting the second one through a penalty, as the first half ended in favor of Leopard by 4-2. Leopard continued where they had left in the second half when Muzi netted his fourth and the fifth of the team before Thokozani Dlamini, who came into the second half, closed the party with the sixth to confirm 3 points for Leopards in a 6-2 victory, which resulted in seeing them reducing the gap to a point. Log leaders Highlanders are now 43 points, while Leopard are 42 points with the game in hand. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Musonera, Mbabane.
Eswatini Rugby Union President Smanga Makakula has announced that the National Rugby Leagues will resume this month after a 2-year absence due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Makakula says all 3 leagues, being Senior Men's League, Women's Rugby League and Junior Rugby League, will be all resuming. Makakula was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Manzini.
Eswatini Rugby Union was amongst the top national associations that were heavily affected for a period of almost 2 years without activities for both rugby clubs and national team seasons due to the world pandemic, the coronavirus.
lase-Afrika nelaka World Rugby mhlaba wonke ukuthi rugby idlaliswa kanjani.
The association's president, Smanga Makagura, is happy to announce that the 3 league of National Men's League, Women's League and Junior League will be starting this month. Makagura says a team has been tasked to work on a potential sponsors that can be brought in for the competitions.
Kwanya lokho basephumile basabuka basengabuyi basibikela lokho sekusikayikhola basakutfolile sebethumile basabuka nabo.
According to the current World Rugby rankings, Eswatini is ranked 102 out of 109 nations in the world. The return to action for both rugby clubs and the national team Sizeze is likely to boost the country's rankings in the near future. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Manzini.
Young Buffalo star Sandile Saviola Kamete is the best player for the month of March this year after receiving the award with an incentive of 6,000 Malangeni. Kamete netted 5 goals in 4 games in March, which brought him to a total of 14 goals so far in the current season. The awarding ceremony was held at Squawka House in Babane.
Premier League of Eswatini, together with the title sponsor MTN Eswatini, awarded the 2 best players for the month of March, both under the Premier League and the National First Division respectively. Under the Premier League category, Sandile Saviola Kamete walked away with a carrot of 6,000 Emarangeni as the best player for the month of March, having scored 5 goals in 4 games, which has now brought him to a total of 14 goals this season.
Kona akasekho khashane kakhulu kunami, but ngicabanga ukuthi ngidawuzama kushaya amagoli amaningi kule season. Target bekungi-20 so far, but if avuma angaba more than that.
Under the National First Division, Tabiso Store from Tlatikul Tycoons netted 4 goals in March and has walked away with a package of 2,000 Emarangeni as March best.
Ngijabulile kakhulu ngokuthi ngibe player of the month.
On another note, Premier League of Eswatini announced that the Yellow Sunday will be held this coming weekend at the Mavso Sports Center in Manzini. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. Before we say goodbye, here's a quick reminder of our top stories tonight. The Minister of ICT says the National Research Council bill will once passed into act contribute to the country's development and further help the country develop a national agenda on the items that need researching. The Minister of Finance, Noel Rickenback, has officiated the launch of the Eswatini Revenue SARS New Brand, and the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has provided 80 million Malangeni to cushion the price of fuel, as it is set to increase yet again with effect from Thursday midnight. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, we have come to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. It's been a pleasure indeed. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's goodbye and good night.